I think I should actually start every video by thanking all the people who got me to where I am today. So you're looking at a list of YouTubers that I watched before I even bought a printer, and then after I got a printer I watched everything they did. So thanks to all these people, especially 3D printed tabletop. Now on to supporting the body of the Hive Colossus, the Umber Hulk proxy. So rotate around, look at them, head's done. You know, we did that on the last video, and we know that's going to print perfectly. So now we're on to the big boy, and this obviously is going to be a lot more challenging. There are a lot of pointy things pointing in different directions, so obviously we're going to have a lot of supports. So I don't want him flat. I'm going to tilt him, because even though I'm not going to tilt him much, though, so a lot of people would say 45 degrees. I'm going to tilt him, it's only about 10 degrees, because I just want to make sure that his feet are not totally flat, so the whole bottom portion doesn't print at once, because I have to support everything at once. This way I have little anchor points. So to me, the key is always how you anchor your model, because those are going to be heavy supports, and those initial anchors are going to help hold up the whole model, although in this case both arms are pretty big and they're not going to be anchored by the feet, but we'll deal with that later. This video today is really, this part is going to deal with anchoring the feet and the body and all the placement on those. And otherwise the video would be too long, so I'm going to do the arms in a separate video. It'll be the next one I do after this. So first I'm just mousing over it, just giving myself a general feel for where the islands are going to be. So people ask me about my settings, so let's talk about it. My light supports I've altered so that the contact diameter and the contact depth are minimal, 0.12. You can actually go down to 0.02, but I actually think that'd be totally pointless. It wouldn't even support a few pixels, I don't think. But at 0.12 diameter and 0.12 depth, you have zero damage to your model basically when you pull these things off. My medium supports I've also altered. If you compare your settings to what you're looking at on mine, I've also altered the contact diameter and the contact depth to much lower figures. So again, when I do want medium supports, I want something stronger than those lights. It is going to be minimal damage to the model. I don't mess with most of the settings except the contact depth and diameter. So you look, even on my heavies, I've lowered them pretty much below what anyone else would tell you. Everyone would say, hey, minimum contact depth on any support should be 0.4. No, even my heavies aren't there, and my models don't fail. So the people who give you that conventional wisdom, they are absolutely just wrong, or at least they're wrong when it comes to miniatures. So now you've seen what my settings are. Feel free to copy them, try them out how they work for you. They should work fine, since I print 24/7 for the last 5-6 months, and I have very, very few fails. So first thing we always do after we've tilted our model back is we're going to use heavies to anchor the first few pixels that come out, right? Those are the most important ones, obviously. They're going to be holding up all the initial portions of the model. So I will pepper that first layer or two, and I don't like the way this one came out. It's kind of over the edge, which I don't like, so I'm trying to reposition it. I think it's just in an awkward spot, so I'm going to get rid of it and just start again. It's no big deal. Okay, let's reposition. Now that one looks good, right up to the edge. I like that. So now I'm just going to pepper these first few layers with heavies so that there is no chance of a fail early on. Because if you fail early on, obviously you're screwed, and you wouldn't even notice that till 30-40% done with this model when it comes out of the vat far enough for you to see it, and you'd have already lost probably 2 or 3 hours of your time and some resin. And even worse, to me, the worst thing is having to take my vat out and clean it. Because I'm very cautious with this stuff and I don't let my models fail, I very, very rarely have to clean my vat now, which is really great, because cleaning the vat, as you all know, is messy and annoying and time consuming. And anytime you're scraping stuff off your FEP, you're worried you might scratch it or puncture it or anything like that. So printing without fail, some people might look at my videos and say, you know what, I think this guy's using actually too many supports. But if you can use extra support so your model doesn't fail, it's worth it. Now in these toes, these are not islands, but talking about not failing, I'm going to support them with these light supports since they won't do any damage. I'm going to support the hell out of them because I don't want any fail. I don't want this to come out and the toe is missing, or it's a flat plane and looks weird. So it's always better to over support than to under support, obviously, especially if you use the techniques I'm showing you here. You're going to hide most of your supports. So even you over support it, it's not like you're ruining your model with lots of pits and holes and bumps. So first I'm starting on the base plane of both feet, and then we're going to move up to those other islands you saw higher up on the legs. So same thing here, I'm using heavies. I'm going to pepper the whole first few layers with heavy so this thing can't fail. then a few heavies to anchor it even further up. And then I'm going to polish it off by using those light supports, and use heavies here because these are still going to be totally out of sight. They're going to be on the base itself. Now I'm going to bring in my lights, and even though these aren't islands, I'm going to support them. I'm giving them no chance of failure. A print this size, I don't want to come back 9 hours later and something's wrong, something's screwy, right? So keep going with these lights and support the hell out of these feet. Even the bottom of this looks chewed up when it's done. You will never ever see it. It's going to be glued onto a base. No chance of even seeing this. So now we're going to start moving up the legs. Sometimes I just mouse over the whole model just to get a general feel of, you know, where I should be looking later. It kind of stores away in my brain. And then I look at the model from the side and make sure I don't see anything hanging down like this and say, whoops, you know what, that actually should get a support right there. So I'm going to start there. So every now and then after you're working from the bottom, to me, is the most efficient and expedient way to operate, actually, to see the island, just click them. But you always want to go back to the side view of your model and look and just see, did you miss something glaring, something jumping out at you? Now I put one there, but now look, it's way too close to the foot. This is going to bond to the model if I don't do anything. It's going to bond, and when I break it off, it's going to break off a piece of the model. So this is where those advanced techniques come in of using your edit tool, and we're going to click the base of the support and just move it away from the model. Now there's no chance of it bonding. I'm going to rearrange the top also, by the way. As I told you in my other video, when you move the bottom, it does change the contact point a little bit. So always go back and change it. Now I'm going to add another light here because I see kind of a big area that's going to print at once, and I want to support it. Now I'm going to move the base of that light. Now I've got that area really nicely supported. It will not fail. Okay, and neither of those supports is going to bond to the foot. You see how far away they are, nice and clean. So that's, you know, when I take those off, you won't know they were there, and it's going to be a very clean looking foot. And this is what you're aiming for all over your model. So these techniques that you just saw right there, those are the techniques you just apply every single spot on the model. I click on the ball to edit it, to change the angle a little bit. Now we've got a ton of islands on this model, right? There's a lot of work to do. All told, this model will take me about half an hour to 40 minutes to do, but it's well worth it if you want this thing to print out perfectly, right? And you only want to do it once. So I'm just mousing over, just checking various spots where I'm going to need supports. And again, I don't only support islands. I think that's a huge mistake. You have to look at a model and you have to ascertain what areas might be bearing weight, and then you don't want them to fail because of suction or pull off the other supports because of suction. So sometimes you add supports where technically someone might say, well, you don't need a support there, there's no island. So I support anything. I just eyeball the model and say, if I see an area that's going to be supporting a lot of other printed material, I'm going to support it. I'm going to make sure it doesn't fail. These little ridges, they most likely wouldn't fail anyway, but it doesn't hurt to support it. Oh, I had an extra one, get rid of it. What I want to do is edit this and pull it away from the model. I don't like the angle there. So let's pull it away from the model a little bit, change the angle, move the ball away so I can see better. And then I can always look and if I need to readjust the contact point or not. But it looks pretty good. Now I'm going to add some more supports. I don't need one there. I don't really need one there. But you won't see these areas, so adding one doesn't really hurt anything at all. And in here, those areas right by the foot could use some supports. There again, there's a tiny little island area in there. That one's almost so minuscule it wouldn't make a difference, but I'm going to put a support everywhere I think there could be that little failure, right? Because, like I said, the last thing we need is uncured resin floating around in our vat also. So I saw a little island right there, so I'm going to support that area. And in general, it's a good idea. Like I said, even if there are no islands, where it's bright red, if you can sneak a support in and you know you won't see it afterwards, like these are on the underside of the carapace, you're not going to see it. You know, put more supports in. You lose nothing. That might be a half a cent worth of resin that got used. And if it helps your model come out, you want to do it. So the feet are looking great, right? You see the groin area. I don't know if these things have groins. Doesn't look like it. Thank God it's not anatomically correct. So let's add heavies there because this you will never see. I mean, if you pick the model up and flip it over and look at it, you'll see it. So I don't care if I have a little hole or pit here. It's going to be very nicely hidden. Now, as I go up the tail, some of that's going to start to be visible. So I'm going to be careful as I go up higher. You know, if you look at the model, as you go up higher, those might be visible. So I'm going to start using lighter and lighter supports as I go higher up because I really don't want to make repairs on a part of the model that you're going to see. So under here where I'm putting them now, again, area you will not see at all. So go support crazy. Use heavies or use mediums and put a bunch of them. Don't be shy. As long as you keep looking at your model to make sure that none of the bases of those supports is going to contact your model and cause that bonding, which is like the bane of all models when your supports touch especially a higher up on the model where you can see it, and you actually end up ripping a chunk of the model off when you go to clip that support. There's really maybe if you slowly sanded it away, you might be able to get rid of it, but you're going to be sanding for an hour. So if we add our supports carefully and make sure the base of the supports are not, with a couple microns of the model, they will never bond, and you just won't even ever have to deal with it. Every now and then I still make a mistake, to be honest. If I'm doing a ton of models, I'm not being careful enough, but it's very rare that I have to clip a support off because it's bonded to my model. So I want you guys to get used to really inspecting your model. I look at it this way. If you spend 5 or 10 extra minutes after you've placed all your supports looking at your model to make sure nothing's going to bond, it might save you half an hour of cleanup and repair work after the model's done. So even though it seems annoying and a bit tedious to do this, if it saves you a lot of time on the back end, you have to keep that in mind and say, okay, this is one of those things that's annoying to do, it's tedious, but in the end it is really worth it. So now I see an island that I couldn't see. You have to change your angles when you look, because sometimes your supports block your view of things you need to support, right? So you have to keep rotating the model and look at it. You'll see I'm constantly changing the angle, going underneath, but then going back to the side, going back up, and trying to see if there's something I missed. Now again, you can always go top-down view later, which I'll do, and deconstruct the model and make sure you didn't miss anything. You see anything floating there, you can go back under and support it. Looking at the carapace, the middle section is going to hold up most of the carapace itself, so I don't need to go too crazy on the supports here, but I did put a heavy where it's going to be out of sight and is going to be supporting a decent amount of material. So aside from just being out of sight, one of the things you want to remember is you're going to analyze the model. If you see an area like the area I'm highlighting now, it's not really supporting that much material before it joins the rest of the model, those islands. So I don't need a heavy support there. It's overkill. I just need a light support just to get it up a few layers, and then it's supported by the rest of the model. So you want to look at your model, and when you go to place a support, look at what the area you're supporting. What is it holding up? What's going on top of it? Do you need something really super sturdy? Or can you get away with one of my super light supports, just because you're trying to do something that's just maintaining cosmetics? If it's going to hold material, my super light support's going to rip right off. I'm the first to admit those supports are unbelievably light and won't hold much at all. So you want to use them very strategically. So here I lost where my island was, and now I say, there's 2 islands actually over there. So this is a little bit annoying to me because now I have to put 2 supports there. You can get away with maybe 1, but there is that tiny little bit of island you see right here forming, and I don't want any uncured resin. So here's another trick I'm going to teach you. Drop a support onto a support and then edit it off that support. See it? So instead of clicking where I want it to support, because it wouldn't drop in that place because it would be over the model, I click my support onto an existing support and then edit it off that support. So that's a real advanced technique. This takes your support game to a new level. Because what you should do, and you'll see it in other places in this video, what you can do is, sometimes I drop a support that I don't want, attach it to a part of the model that I don't want to support, then attach a support to that support, then delete the original support. Now I have a support sitting where I want it, and I can attach it anywhere I want it, right? So that's a really advanced technique, and you'll see me doing that, as we do these legs, and you'll definitely, that one's too close. I got to get that out of there. So you'll definitely see me. Here's an interesting point. Sometimes when you go to move the bottom, it doesn't work, and sometimes by playing with the ball joint for some reason, I'm not sure what algorithm they use, but when I move the ball joint, then suddenly I can move the base, whereas before it wouldn't let me. So I'm not sure how it calculates whether you should move the base or not. So if you try to move the base of a support like I showed you to do and it won't move, just mess with the ball joint angle up and then down and see if you can move the base of the support. The other thing to keep in mind, the base of a support, if the base of your support is surrounded by other supports, it won't let you move that base. Like, you actually need to physically be able to slide the base to the point you want it to go to. So if your base is trapped in by other bases of supports, it actually won't let you slide it around, which can be incredibly frustrating. When that happens, I usually attach a support to that support so the base is not under everything else, and then delete the original support and then edit the support and edit the base again. So now we're going over to the other side of the leg, and of course there's a ton of islands like there were on this one. So I'm just going through and I'm going to support them. Even though that's not super close, I'm going to move it. I always like to be safe. Whenever I drop a support near the feet, I always move it out to the side. Plus, it gives me a little better vision of some of the other islands and areas I need to support. So I always move them, and then I rearrange the top. Yep, so, you know, there's a bunch of islands here, a bunch of downward pointing things here. Now, I mean, this is an amazing artist who I love, and he's great. And I wouldn't want artists to sacrifice artistic quality and their vision. But when they make downward pointing stuff in the back foot of a model, I don't actually love it because it's just extra supports for us to place. And if that material is packed in a little bit, it wouldn't be an island and we wouldn't have to support it. But that being said, these are really easy supports to place anyway. So again, everywhere you see an island, and here, the ones that aren't supporting a lot of material, again, I'm always going to use my super lights. And then after I place them, I will just move the bases so that none of them are near the model. And very soon after I place a support, I like to edit that base and move it away so I don't forget, because if I just move on and place a few other supports, I might forget to move that base. Then I go out and print out my model. Next thing I know, I've got a support bonded to my model, and to me I feel like my model's ruined. I know you can repair it, I know some sanding, maybe a little putty, whatever you want, but I don't like to do all that stuff. I want my model to print out and kind of be done. You know, I'm not great with that stuff. I'm not very artistic. I'm not good with the green stuff or the clay or anything, you know. Even when I try to gap fill, it doesn't look that good, honestly. So I need my models to come out as pristine as possible so I have a lot less work, you know, to do afterwards. So we're almost done with this portion. I'm going to stop the video after we get these legs and everything here totally supported. There's an area in there I don't like. It's not an island at all, but it definitely going to need some supports. So I'm going to have to drop some supports. And this is going to be over the other part of the leg, possibly. No, it's okay. I'm going to need to move those, though. That one's going to bond, so I move it out so it doesn't bond. The other one's fine. That looks pretty good. Let me look at it from this side. Yeah, I might want to sneak one more support in at a crazy angle. And I might do that. But it looks like it's pretty well supported. There, I dropped the support onto my support like I told you about. Now I'm going to edit it. You see the little tip sticking there. Once I click on that, I'll pull it to somewhere that I think needs a little more support. Yeah, I think that area there, there's a heavy support there, but there's a lot of material kind of coming down at once, so I'm dropping extra supports here. And I'm just going to support right by the support. So I really want that portion of the leg to print out perfectly because it's actually supporting a good bunch of material above it. So if I support that groin area, the underside of the groin plus the feet really well, the whole center of this model is now really, if you look at it, it's so solidly anchored. But also take a look. On this portion you see right there, it's going to print out with no damage to anything at all in the front. So hope you like it. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the like button and come back when I'm going to support the arms, which is a little more difficult. And look at the model. You can see the front of it where all the supports are on the legs I placed. Can't see them, right? Okay, thanks for watching.